Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. It is currently 1:38 p.m. and today's date is the 31st of October 2024. How are you doing? It is Halloween in America. How are you? How are you? Happy Halloween. How are we doing? Okay, yes, we got sound. Sound sounds good. Great. Awesome. All right. So today we are going to be it is going to be quick live stream and we're just going to give you a little update. Nothing too long because I have to handle some business. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. All right. Have my little healthy drink. Ooh. All right. It is a beautiful day in America. That's the title of today's stream. A beautiful day in America. I'm here to give you updates on the polls according to Fox, according to CNN, and of course, we're gonna see JD Vance today in a conversation with Kirk at Turning Point Action, and that would be the live stream. And yes, y'all. All right, who do you think is leading right now in the polls? I do not know precisely who is leading, but I suspect that the former president is leading. I'm not sure. I don't know for sure, but that's what I suspect. Let's go to Fox right now and see what they're talking about, and then we are gonna go all the way back to CNN, and then you're gonna listen to JD Vance. All right. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, and let me know who you think is leading in the current polls right now. Let's get it.
Right here is a coin flip, all right? These are three significant battleground states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. This is what our Fox polling tells us today. Two things to keep an eye on, right? The margin of error in all three states is 3 points, plus or minus. Pretty good polling, all right? Also, it is among likely voters, not just registered voters, but likely voters, so sometimes it gives us a better idea of the ultimate outcome. But here's what we've got. In Michigan, we've got a flat-out tie, 49-49. In Pennsylvania, Trump leads by a point at 50%. Likewise for North Carolina. This is what we also found here, okay? Blue wall states, all right? That's Wisconsin, that's Michigan, that's Pennsylvania. These are brothers in arms, okay? They vote as a unit. Going back to 1992, you see it, right? The Clinton years. Gore and Kerry, both losers those years, but Obama was a victor in 08 and 12. Then they crossed over, went 3 for 3 with Trump, then flipped again to Biden. Upper Midwest, Great Lakes states, going back to the convention in Milwaukee. This is a target for the Trump team as well as the Harris team. This is what we find on the issues right now, okay? Far right, Kamala Harris on abortion. She leads in our polling by 18 points. On immigration and the border, Trump leads by 6 points. 16 rather, sorry. In the middle is the economy. Donald Trump over the summer had a significant lead on this, sometimes in the polling as much as double digits, all right? In this particular moment, in the state of Michigan, he leads, but it is by 2 points, +2 for Trump. Easiest way to look at this, okay? Going into Tuesday, her easiest path is Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and picking up one in Nebraska. Let me take a few of those off the board here now, okay? His easiest path going into Tuesday to get to 270 is flipping Georgia, keeping North Carolina, and flipping Pennsylvania. That would do it. Kellyanne Conway joins us now. Kellyanne, good morning to you. Join our conversation here. What do you see in the polling? What's top of mind right now? Hello.
Top of mind right now is that what the Trump campaign's been able to do in the last 24 hours is brilliant, because the unexpected surprises with days to go until Election Day should be of your own making. And I disagree that this is a gaffe by President Biden. I think many Trump supporters, including me, see it as a revelation. This is how they feel about us. Whether we're deplorable, irredeemable, mega MAGA extremist, racist, xenophobic. We've been called everything, and we've been called that by some of these Democratic Senate candidates as well who are playing defense. I think much of this was the way Kamala Harris has mishandled her boss, Joe Biden. She tries to distance herself from him. Why wasn't he in the front row at her speech on the ellipse, thanked by her, called to the stage? Be a little bit more gracious and inclusive. Instead, they leave him by himself in the White House, and he's doing a call on behalf of her campaign to a very left-wing Latino group, and we all saw what came from that. So, look, I think at this stage, the big October surprise for me has been how Kamala 2024 has become Hillary 2016. They don't seem to have joy on the job, that sort of alacrity and that energy and that elasticity that shows you're resilient, you can adapt to unforeseen circumstances, you can make a little bit of your own luck. And because they tried to tattoo Donald Trump for 2 days to some comedian and his tasteless joke that Trump said he's never even met, doesn't know anything about him, you can't then evade and escape the comments of the President of the United States and the leader of your party and the boss who gave you your job. So I think this is all coming home to roost. What I'm seeing in the polling is Trump needs to get back to that advantage on the economy. It's a natural advantage. He does talk a lot about cultural issues. He talks a lot about the border. This is probably the moment to go back and remind everybody of the significant differences with distinctions between how he performed as president on the economy and how the Biden-Harris economy has left people feeling more economically vulnerable, and that everyday consumables, not luxuries, have become out of reach and unaffordable.
And to that point, Kellyanne, the battleground state inflation numbers are pretty stark. You could just point to all of those, pull them up here. Everything in this group, except for Pennsylvania, is above 20%, Pennsylvania at 19.2%. So that is definitely on people's mind. If you pull up this poll about Michigan, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and the family situation, you just touched on this, and I'll just give these numbers and let you carry on. Michigan, how do you feel your family is doing? Holding steady or falling behind? And if you just look at these numbers here, 42-45 in Michigan, holding steady 44, but falling behind 44 in North Carolina, and then in Pennsylvania, a similar number. So similar, Hammer and I were just saying, like, very similar in those three
Very
states,
close.
how people are feeling.
And they are, because they've all been victim to excessive government spending. You know, we have spent money in this administration that we don't have on things we don't need or didn't quite ask for. In Michigan, you've got these very particularized, granular issues. Of course, the Arab American population upset with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but the EV mandates. Alyssa Slotkin is saying, look, I don't have an electric vehicle. But people hear, they don't hear electric vehicle, they hear mandate, which takes away your choice. Look, for voters, the questions are always very simple for them. They go in there and they look at their mail ballot, they go into the ballot box, Dana and Bill, and they say, do I want 4 more? Do I want to stay the course, or do I want to make a change? That's why Kamala Harris has tried to be the change agent, the insurgent. But people see her as the incumbent. She's got her fingerprints all over these economic data that you are showing. And the other thing that's happening is basically Kamala Harris and the Democrats are saying, squirrel, that's not true. You're telling us your family is barely hanging on or getting behind or falling behind. And that's not true. Or, by the way, even to the extent it is kind of sort of true, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, it's not as important as calling him names, as stopping Donald Trump from being president. Look, I think the Kamala Harris campaign, like Hillary, like some of Trump's primary opponents in the last year and earlier this year, have fallen into the same trap. They make their candidacies about Trump. People want it to be about them, the people. They're listening very carefully to how you can improve their lives. Give them a little bit of a release valve into the things that vex them. Americans could not be more plain and simple in terms of what is bothering them and what they're taking into the polls. And even in these closing arguments, for Kamala Harris to be going back to abortion, not inflation, not immigration, in such a way, she doesn't, do they not understand abortion voters are already baked? And last point I want to make, because I don't hear it enough. Because of these 10 abortion initiatives in these different states, some of which are swing states like Arizona and Nevada, you don't need to have your presidential vote be a proxy for your position on abortion. You can have your position on abortion be the way you vote on the initiative. So you can vote one way at the presidential level and vote the same or a different way on the abortion initiative. I know the left thought they were doing a great thing by ginning up turnout, But we voters, we're very smart, and we know how to bounce around on the ballot a little bit based on our own predispositions.
There's
and
a
beliefs.
piece today in the Washington Post that addresses exactly that. They find some women in Arizona in that. Kellyanne, what we are looking forward to.
I 100% agree with her right there because voters are actually concerned about the economy, and most Americans say, the direction of the country is not going the right way. You know what I mean? So it's like not everybody is just focused on reproductive rights. Not to say it is not important. Reproductive rights is 100% important to women and to everybody, you know. However, voters are also concerned about the economy. So, yes, y'all. Let's listen to what the seniors are talking about right here. Double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel. Let's get it.
Well, we've been talking about the battlegrounds. It all comes down to who is going to win the battlegrounds. They will wind up being the president. Pete is live in Romeo, Michigan today. And you're actually, it looks like you're in a tent. You're in the overflow area, right?
Oh, yeah. Steve, we're in the parking lot. Absolutely. Because there's such a big, and it's nice out here because it's a little bit cooler. And we got a lot of folks in here who look like garbage? I guess. Guys, we're in Romeo, Michigan, the Four Corners Diner, Macomb County. They call it Trump County, I'm saying. And this county went for Trump in 16 and 20. And by the way, it's Halloween. And I didn't know this, but Romeo is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Halloween town in America. What's the name of the street here in town?
Tilson Street.
Tilson Street is where all the decorations are. Apparently, it's just right down the road. We'll have to check it out later on for decorations and for kids and everything else. But this morning, we're talking to voters. How many here have early voted here in Michigan? Okay, that's a lot. This is the first year ever there's been early voting in the state of Michigan. Over 2 million, almost 2 million Michiganders have cast an early vote. Out of 8 million possible voters, that's a big chunk 6 days away from Election Day. But I want to get a sense of how this group, and we'll go talk to the other group as well, is feeling about those comments. I can't help but see this gentleman here wearing a reflective vest like the president did yesterday. Have you ever actually used that to remove garbage?
Absolutely, picking up garbage along the side of the road with cleaning up the highways and stuff like that.
So what do you make of the comments made by Joe Biden and the president's reaction?
Well, I think it speaks to what Joe Biden really thinks and Harris really thinks of the people in this country that support Donald Trump. And he's going to take out the garbage.
Going to take out the garbage. Come with us, because we got a lot of folks here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your service. How you doing, sir? What do you think of the garbage comment?
Well, I just think it's them. I mean, we need somebody back in office that cares about the American people, not the administration that cares about themselves.
Absolutely. Ma'am, how about both of you? You saw those comments from Joe Biden.
Well, I thought that was a bunch of garbage is what I thought. I thought, oh my gosh, first we're deplorables and now we're garbage. No way. We are the heartbeat of America. We are the United States of America. We are the patriots. We need to get Trump back in office is what I thought.
Well said. What is it?
God, family, and country.
God, family, and country. No garbage in there.
Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you very much. Let's go inside now. We're in the park. We're coming back to you guys. Oh. Well, there is one. We did get a trash can. I'm sorry. He came as his own trash can. You can't make it up. Any comments, trash can?
You can call me deplorable, call me garbage, call me whatever you want. But if the economy gets better, our borders get secure, that I don't care what you call me.
Then we're all trash. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Come on in. All right. How we do? Hey, say hello to Fox and Friends, everybody. Holy cow. What a great group. You guys actually got here early and got inside. Yeah. Perfect. Ma'am, what's your name?
Tony.
Tony, and your dad had a profession.
Yes, he was a garbage man for 15 years.
Not an easy job.
Not when the cans were metal and nobody put the lids on it and the ice melted in them.
Yeah, it's cold here in Michigan, taking out the trash.
Yes, it is.
And so what do you make of Joe Biden's comments about Trump supporters?
Well, I think this lady over here said it best. If she wants to repeat it, I don't want to take
Which
words
young
out.
lady is that? Right over here?
This one right here.
All right, come on over, ma'am. Her time has been deferred to you. Ought to be good.
I would rather be considered, I just screwed it all up. I would rather be called garbage than be called a Democrat.
Pretty universal sentiment here. Sir, just those comments and your reaction.
Well, absolutely. We need to take our country back, and we need to vote red. We need to bring Trump back, apple to apples, oranges to orange. Our president, Donald Trump, are you better off 4 years ago than you are now? Absolutely. We need to bring President Donald Trump back, number 47.
There we go. I mean, there you have it. Hey, we're going back to God, family, country. We want our economy back. We want secure borders. They can call names all they want. Ultimately, you got a lot of knowledgeable voters in here. How many here have cast your vote already? I mean, tons of early voters here I mean, it's almost the entirety of the room. And if you haven't voted yet, shame on you. Because their votes are helping the rest of us out. It's almost 2 million in Michigan, guys.
Okay.
That's 2 million in Michigan have cast their vote already. First year of early voting here in Michigan across the state.
Pete.
And of 8 million voters, potential voters, that's a big number.
I cannot believe how popular you are, Pete. Look at that turnout. That is unbelievable just to see you in person.
Oh, it's incredible.
You have more people outside than inside.
It's not just about... No, they love you guys. They want to say hello.
all the red, white, and
Folks in
blue.
New York. We'll talk to you again later. Good morning. How we doing? All right. We're on live television. Settle down, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. It's good to see all of you. Again, a show of hands, who has early voted? So a big chunk of folks. And ma'am, I was talking to you. This is your first time voting, and it's an early vote.
It is. I waited heavily. I decided that this election was too important, and I went and I did it in person. I have a good feeling. I think Sunday the Lions are going to win, and Tuesday Trump is going to win.
Now we're bringing the Lions into this. I mean, that's fair. As a Vikings fan, I understand that. Well, come on. Come on, Sam Darnold. How about some other, who else early voted here? Ma'am, you early voted. What issues matter the most to you?
The main issue that matters to me is the illegals, immigrants that are crossing our border and making it unsafe for the rest of us here in the United States.
And sir?
The flow of illegal drugs coming through here, the fentanyl is really a big deal right now. And yeah, we got to stop that.
That affects everybody, no doubt. Ma'am, you early voted, right? Do you mind if I ask who you voted for?
Well, it's the special person that starts with a T.
And what motivates you? What motivated you to vote? What issues matter the most to you?
Too many. There are a lot of things in that are not going right, and somebody's got to turn them around. Just like the illegal immigrants coming across, they are well dressed. They are not. Okay.
No, I get you. I get what you're saying. Illegal immigration is a huge issue. And ma'am, now you said you're going to wait for Election Day.
I always do.
Okay. Why is that?
Just because it's tradition. You know, I like being able to actually stand in the long lines and be able to talk with people. It's just my own personal tradition. Yeah.
She likes long lines. No, I get the tradition of it for sure. A lot of enthusiastic folks here in Romeo, Michigan. We're going to be back with them in a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go out to Pete. Pete, you're in that state of Michigan where there's going to be a lot of focus.
That state.
And we understand, according to our last poll, we're in a dead heat in Michigan.
It's a dead heat, and there's already 2 million votes, and we've got 6 days to go to Election Day. A packed house here. Hey, everybody, how are we doing this morning? All right, raise your hands for me. I'm going to poll the other group as well. Is Donald Trump better at serving fries or running a garbage truck? Who says serving fries? How about garbage truck? It's kind of both. It's not really fair. Good to see y'all. Let's go to the other side. Let's see what they think. Oh, no. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. All right. Quick question. So Donald Trump worked the McDonald's fries and the garbage truck. Who thinks he's better at fries? Who thinks he's better at a garbage truck? This group is full of garbage men. I love it. And we're going to talk to a special annex table over here. All right, excuse me, folks, while the camera moves. I'm going to move through here because they've been stuck in a room by themselves, and we don't want to leave them alone. So here they are. How you doing? Good to see y'all. Have you voted early, by the way?
I have not voted early, but I will.
You will?
I absolutely.
Talk to us about why Romeo's special, this county, and what you think the status of
Macomb County
Michigan
loves
is.
Trump, as we do all people. We're special because we've always come together. We're rooted here. We're rooted by farmers. Farmers matter. Automotive matters. Trump matters, and he's going to take care of the farmers and the automotive industry. The number one thing, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? That's the message that we need. We know that he has a real plan for us, and we support his plans. And a quick shout out to my dad, Roger Wills. I gotta say, my veteran father who may be watching, which I know he does daily, I want to thank him, and I want to thank you for recognizing how important this is to us.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for having us. Ma'am,
And that's the main point. Are you better off now than you were 4 or 5 years ago? And what is the most important thing to you in this election? What is your question? What are you asking both candidates? Okay, this is the issue that matters the most to me as a voter. What issue matters most to you? Put it in the chat. Me, I would say the economy. Okay, the economy is the number one thing, and then foreign policies. Those are the two main questions that I'm asking both candidates. And I find the OG, the 45th, who I mostly believe will be the 47th. He has more policy that benefits the economy and also public foreign policies. That's what I believe, and that's why I voted Trump. I don't know why you're voting Trump. I don't know why you're voting Kamala. Let me know in the chat.
see your shirt there. That's JD Vance, RFK, Trump, and Elon.
I went from being a Democrat to the thug life.
And why did you change?
Because these four men, one, I've been watching Trump. When Trump was in the presidency, we had no war. And I'm 66 years old, and I've never experienced that in my lifetime. I just want to experience these four men taking on the swamp. And I just want this once in my life. All I want for Christmas are these guys to win.
All she wants for Christmas is these guys. Well, you know what? Never thought I'd say this too, but I'm on the menu this morning. So I don't know what that means. Take it where you want. But breakfast is on me, okay? Thank you all very much. And that's all we got from Romeo, Michigan, at least for this hour. But we got a lot more folks to talk to get their pulse.
Pete, you were just talking about the significance of Romeo, Michigan. I got a text message from our mutual friend, Kid Rock. That's his hometown.
It sure is. It's where he was born and raised. He let me know that, too. You guys know a famous alumni from Romeo is Kid Rock.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, they already know that. Absolutely, Steve.
We'd like to see Kid Rock here. We have a few projects that could use his help.
Oh, there we go. He might be watching right now. We'll see.
Let me tell you something. I want whatever she had this morning.
I know, right? She has a lot of energy. She's adorable.
There you go. All right.
I wish I could say that about someone
Hey,
else.
is there Pete, have you tossed it back?
She's still talking.
Okay.
Thank you,
Are we
Pete.
allowed to take the show?
That's Pete's co-host.
Yeah.
They're
like a standoff.
I think we have another co-anchor that's been added to the guy.
Absolutely. Unless he tosses back, we can't get the show back. So that's just the rules.
Speaking of money, inflation also soaring in Michigan, where residents saw a 20% increase since Biden-Harris took office.
Pete Hegseth is talking with the swing state voters. Hey, Pete.
Hey, good morning. I don't want any Swedish fish. That's my vote on that one, by the way. But I'm with my new friends, Susan and Daryl. We're talking economy because that's a huge issue here. 50-50 race. Susan, what are your thoughts on the economy?
Well, the economy is the backbone of this nation, has been for centuries. And when the economy is bad, the people suffer. And right now, we are suffering with the rate of inflation and everything going up. We need leadership that is going to pull us and put us into a good place so that we can. I'm a senior citizen. I want to live out my days, what I've prepared for 70 years.
Absolutely, absolutely.
He's absolutely right. When the economy suffers, the people suffer. When the economy is bad, the people suffer. People are working 2-3 jobs right now to pay the rent, to survive. to pay the bills. Electricity bill, my electricity bill has gone up. I don't know about your electricity bill, but my electricity bill, my insurance bill has gone all the way up. So, of course, if the economy isn't going great, the people are going to be suffering.
Pension's top of mind for you.
Yes, I was in the pension, or as a sheet metal for 37 years. I retired, and immediately, first thing they said is, we tax your pension. Now, if President Trump can eliminate taxes from pensions and Social Security, I'm all for that. Every American worker should be for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. Hey, Carter, who you voting for? Trump. He's got a mouthful of pancakes. He's a good little kid. Thoughts on the economy, sir?
Yeah, prices are up. Wages are not keeping up with it. And I have parents who are in their upper 80s on a fixed income. So Social Security is not currently keeping up with the rate of inflation.
Absolutely.
So we got to do something about it. Trump's our man.
There we go. Romeo Bulldogs, by the way. That's the high school here. A lot of pride in the Romeo Bulldog. Sir, some thoughts on the economy?
Yes, I work for Oakland Tree Service. We trim and remove trees, but we're a small business, and it's a luxury. Not everyone can afford it, but less and less people are able to afford just the simple things that we do. I mean, our company profits are way down than they were with Trump.
Absolutely.
And we really notice it.
Hoping for a reversal on that.
Yeah.
All right, we only got a chance to get to a few people. I know we're going to a commercial break. I'm running in the other room. There's more folks, and there's more Fox and Friends on the other side of this commercial. If we can get there, don't go anywhere, folks.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. Of course, you've heard from Fox. Let's get more information from Fox. And then we're going to go to CNN for sure. Don't worry about it. Okay? Because I know most people are like, well, why are you playing just Fox? We're still going to play CNN.
Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign is now in damage control, while Trump is on the offense. This all comes after Biden's garbage comments are now threatening, listen to this, to derail Harris's campaign. Hello, everyone, and happy Halloween. I'm wearing orange for Halloween. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany. Here with my co-hosts, Harris Faulkner and Emily Compagno. Also joining us, Kayleigh McGee-White, journalism fellow for the Steamboat Institute and senior fellow for the Independent Women's Forum, and Mark Thiessen, Fox News contributor. President Biden set off an election firestorm with those viral comments, trashing half the country, trashing Trump supporters.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable.
Now, those remarks, they speak for themselves, and they may fire up and drive up voter turnout for Trump in a razor-tight presidential race. Who knew that Biden would be providing the get-out-the-vote operation for Republicans? But it appears that may be the case. Trump, for his part, he quickly seized on the moment in a big dig to Biden's comments. And in another made-for-TV visual for his campaign that went viral, look at him there. He rolled up in a MAGA garbage truck, wearing a bright orange vest to his campaign rally in Wisconsin.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Okay, so then he did a press conference from the garbage truck. We are still waiting for Kamala Harris to do one. He did one from a garbage truck. And then he stepped on the stage in Green Bay at his rally, still wearing the bright orange vest, and he defended his supporters.
And I have to begin by saying 250 million Americans are not garbage. My response to Joe and Kamala is very simple. You can't lead America if you don't love Americans. That's true. You can't be president if you hate the American people, which I believe they do. Kamala and Joe call all of us, and them, even them, garbage. I call you the heart and soul of America. For the past 9 years, Kamala and her party have called us racists, bigots, fascists, deplorables, irredeemables, Nazis, and they called me Hitler. They bullied you, they've demonized us, They've censored us, they've deplatformed us, and they weaponized the power of our own government against all of us. They've taken your money, they've thrown open your borders to criminals and terrorists, they've given your jobs to illegal migrants.
I'm not even like going to cap. This man's campaign team has been off the hook, off the chain. He has the best team. I mean, who came up with this concept of wearing reflective jackets? This was amazing strategy. Hey, man, double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, man. I cannot wait for this man to be the 47th. Let's get it.
Sent our blood and treasure to fight in stupid foreign wars where the countries don't even know who we are and where we've never heard of the country. This Tuesday is your chance to stand up and declare you are not going to take it anymore.
Now, Emily, he technically did a gaggle from the truck. We did see Kamala give a gaggle, still maintain the fact she's not done one formal press conference. We await that. You've got about 6 days here. But, Emily, that moment symbolized so much. It wasn't just some gimmicky stunt wearing a garbage man's vest. That is not what it was. He talked about all the things that have been done to American people. He connected it to policy, the grievances at the border, economically. And then he said, I'm standing up for you. To connect a flaw of Biden to policy and turn it around into a viral moment, it's really something to see.
Oh, it is. It's brilliant. But it wasn't a machinated strategy. He leaned into it because he authentically is like, you call me garbage? Well, then that's what I am. But you know what? I call us the heart and soul of America. And he's been leaning into, embracing authentically now for years, the fact that he represents and is one of the portion of America, the large majority of America that has been forgotten. And not only forgotten, but that was called deplorables and irredeemables and terrible things, that has been chastised, castigated, that has been absolutely trashed by this administration and by those that went before it that are part of that machine. And to have someone stand up for you. Remember, I talked about this months ago out of Iowa when the number one response for those in the primaries that voted for Trump, their number one reason said was because he fights for people like me. And we are seeing it there. And by the way, out in the streets of New York, I've seen a lot of people in a Donald Trump costume wearing that garbage vest. It's phenomenal because they say, you know what? Me too. And that is phenomenal.
It is. You know, Harris, it was really funny when he described his decision to wear that on stage. I would have never expected that because he's kind of particular about what he wears and appearance.
He is.
But listen to him describe the decision here.
Then I got in the car and I'm driving over here and I have this still on. And I come into the arena and I say, where's my jacket? I want to get out of this thing. And they said, it would be unbelievable if you could wear it on stage. I said,
This man is a president / stand-up comedian. Because what? Ooh-wee. Oh man, when he gets back in the White House, hopefully he does get back in the White House. It is going to be fun in America, like absolutely fun. So tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, man.
and I said, no way. I got 25,000 people standing outside. I got all these people here. There's no way I'm wearing it on stage. They said, oh, okay, sir. I said, get me my jacket. But if you did, you know, it actually makes you look thinner. I said, oh. And they got me. I said, I want to wear it on stage. When they said I look thinner, I said, in that case, I'll wear it on stage. I may never wear a blue jacket again. I may go.
All right, so you would know. I mean, you've worked with him in many different capacities. What's going on there?
Look, I mean, he has his look, right? This is a man who knows brand. So he has his brand. He has his iconic red tie, which he occasionally changes up. But he looked thinner, so his dad, so smart to get him on stage like that. I love it. He was having fun.
Look, if you're Kamala Harris and you have worked, as Emily has talked about, because she lived in California at the time, as long as she has on the public dole, right, getting her paycheck from taxpayers as an attorney general of our largest state in the union, California, as a prosecutor, and now as vice president. I mean, taxpayers have paid her bill. If you don't know by now how to connect with people and to understand how to own a moment that your boss has created, you're stepping in all sorts of stuff now. You've got to connect with the American people, and it needs to be authentic, and it needs to be organic for you to own this moment. And the reason Kamala Harris doesn't own it right now, and that she reflexively wants to go after a different comment that Trump made, as we saw in that gaggle today, because we took it live during Faulkner Focus. The reason that she can't own that moment right now is because it's not who she is. And she doesn't have more than 5 days to convince the public that she can do this. She can connect with, and this isn't just about garbage truck workers. This is about blue collar workers. This is about every man and woman in the country who have a job right now, all paying more for their groceries and whatnot. She can't do it. Now, maybe she's got other gifts that she can show in the next 5 days, but this kind of ownership of a moment, we haven't seen it yet.
You know, Biden made a garbage comment, so naturally the White House had to do cleanup on aisle dumpster, not aisle 5 this time. And, this cleanup on aisle dumpster did not go so well, and I don't envy anyone's position having to defend this, though the apostrophe, that was kind of clever to come up with. Here's Karine Jean-Pierre endeavoring to explain the impossible.
So just to clarify, he was not calling Trump supporters garbage.
So did President Biden make a mistake in his comments yesterday?
He clarified what he said. It was very clear what he was trying to do. He was wanting to make sure that what he said was not taken out of context, and he clarified that.
This isn't the first time the White House has had to defend or clarify the president's comments.
Nobody's defending the president himself. This is the president himself wanting to clarify what he said. He wanted to make sure that it was not taken out of context. These are the president's words. Nobody here is defending. We are laying out what the president said himself, and he wanted to clarify that.
Kaylee, if I would have tried that at the podium, there would have been a ferocious roar. Acosta would have stormed out. John Carl would be rolling on the floor. How does she get away with this?
Yeah, Democrats' attempts to walk this back crack me up because this is essentially their argument. Trump supporters are racist, a little bit sexist, fascist Nazis. But don't worry, you're not garbage. It's completely inconsistent. It makes no sense. And Trump is totally right to point out that the garbage comment is entirely in line with the way that Democrats have historically treated their voters. You even think back to a couple weeks ago when Barack Obama made that condescending lecture to black men about, well, if you were just not so sexist, maybe you would start supporting Kamala Harris. This is what they think of voters. And, Trump says that it's because they hate the American people. I think it's more accurate to say that they hate what the American people represent. They hate that someone with no political power out in the middle of flyover country has the ultimate source of authority in this country. They hate that someone like my mother-in-law, who worked in an auto factory still since she was 16 years old, has the final say over who gets to go to Washington, D.C. That is what they hate. They do not want to have to answer to the American people. They want the power for themselves.
So Democrats disparaging half the country. We did bring some receipts on that note. Thank you for prompting that. Let's roll it.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
People have been beaten down so long, and they feel so betrayed by government.
So it's not surprising then that they get bitter. They cling to guns or religion or antipathy towards people who aren't like them, and a way to explain their frustrations.
If you voted for Trump, you voted for the person who the Klan supported. You voted for the person who Nazis support. You voted for the person who the alt-right supports.
He also knows deep in his heart that Donald Trump couldn't find Ukraine on a map if you had the letter U and a picture of an actual physical crane next to it. He knows that this is, an administration defined by ignorance of the world. And so that's partly him playing to their base and playing to their audience, the credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump, that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one and y'all elitists are dumb.
Mark.
Yeah, they have contempt for us. It's just that simple. They do. But when it comes to Biden's comments, so 6 months ago, when it was obvious that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline, they were telling us, don't believe your lying eyes. Now they're telling us, don't believe your lying ears. I mean, we played it twice now. It is absolutely clear what he said. And this just shows the lie of the Biden presidency. This is a man who, in his inaugural address, said, I will put my whole soul into uniting this country. Just a few months ago, he said, after the first assassination, we got to lower the temperature. Now we're garbage. We're Nazis. We're fascists. This talk about, just a complete repudiation of the theory of his entire presidency.
That's right. And if
This man is just legendary. Straight up legendary.
my father, Mike McEnany, and his passion on the garbage comment is any indicator of the get out the vote.
I mean, this is just amazing what he did and what they're saying about, the Trump voters. I don't think that was right. That was this may actually cost the vice president the election. I mean, I would say I didn't meet anybody who was voting for her anyway, but now it's like, this may be a landslide election. Okay, let's listen to what the vice president has to say concerning the president's remark about Trump's voters. She had a reply this morning on CNN. Let's get it.
Insurance companies could go back to their ability.
We begin with a stunning news statement from Donald Trump out on the campaign trail last night when the former president said he would be the protector of women, quote, whether the women like it or not. The comments could backfire for Trump, who has faced decades of allegations of abuse from multiple women. And of course, it was the former president who placed 3 justices on the Supreme Court, which overturned Roe versus Wade, sending the question of abortion rights back to the states. Here's what Trump had to say.
4 weeks ago, I was saying, no, I want to protect the people. I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said, we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. So why? They said, sir, I just think it's inappropriate for you to say. Pay these guys a lot of money. Can you believe it? I said, well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Today, we will be leaving Wisconsin, heading west. And I'll be obviously in 3 states again today, talking with the American people about the stakes of this election and the opportunity that we, the American people, have to chart a new way forward. I will comment on the former President Donald Trump's remark about women and whether they like it or not. And listen, it actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies. And this is just the latest on a series of reveals by the former president of how he thinks about women and their agency. Whether he has said, as he has, that women should be punished for their choices, whether he has talked about his pride in taking away a fundamental right from women, whether it be how he has actually created a situation in America where now 1 in 3 women lives in a Trump abortion ban state and has legal restrictions on the right she rightly should have to make decisions about her own body. The other point I will refer to about in the last many hours is the Speaker's comments about the Affordable Care Act. Look, I've been saying throughout this campaign, be very clear that among the stakes in this election are whether we continue with the Affordable Care Act or not. It has been a part of Donald Trump's agenda for a very long time. He has made dozens of attempts to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. And now we have further validation of that agenda from his supporter, the Speaker of the House. And what that would mean for the American people is that insurance companies could go back to a time when they would deny you coverage for health insurance based on pre-existing conditions such as you being a survivor of breast cancer, asthma, diabetes. And what I know is that the American people, regardless of who they're voting for, know the importance of the Affordable Care Act, as it is also called Obamacare, in terms of expanding people's coverage to health care based on a fundamental principle that I hold deeply. Access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. So there's still a lot of work to do, but each day I think that there are also indications that we are receiving from my opponent that verify, validate, and reinforce the fact that, one, he is not going to be fighting for women's reproductive rights. He does not prioritize the freedom of women and the intelligence of women to make decisions about their own lives and bodies. And health care for all Americans is on the line in this election as well. I'll take your questions.
Dan? Oh, yeah. Since the beginning stages.
One thing I gotta say is, first of all, double tap your screen. Let's get the likes up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel. One thing I gotta say is, I know for a fact that in July, when she was announced as the presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, I think July or August, everybody was like, oh yeah, let's get it. And she spiked all the way up. But now when she started talking every day, she started talking, and it's like, oh wait, this ain't gonna work. And now it's getting clearer, and you can see it's stressing her. You can see her face. She's getting stressed. But people are still riding with her anyway. People are gonna vote Democrat regardless. Democrat are gonna vote Democrat, just like Republicans. Most Republicans are gonna vote Republicans. Most Democrats are gonna vote Democrat. But some Democrats are now changing and saying, yo, I'm going to vote Republicans because the economy isn't going right. You know what I mean? So it's like, and first-time voters are voting Trump for sure, I'll tell you that much.
Of your campaign, you've described yourself as an underdog. That language is gone from your speech now. Has something changed in how you're feeling?
No, listen, I am putting it all on the field. And it's going to be a very tight race. And I'm running like the underdog, because we are. Donald Trump's been running for the last decade. I've been in this race about 3.5 months. And the stakes are so high. But I've been saying for quite some time, regardless of what the polls say, we are going to win. I do believe that. Because I do believe that this is a choice about two very different directions for our country. And the choice being offered by Donald Trump is about going backward, about a constant emphasis on degrading the American people and our capacity, versus a track that is about bringing the country together, knowing we have more in common than what separates us, and we should have a plan, which I do, to actually get things done, including bringing down the cost of living for people, investing in our small businesses, expanding access to health care, investing in American industries, including the future of American industries and American workers. So there you go.
Well,
so you talked about what the former president said being offensive to women.
I think it's offensive to everybody, by the way.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah.
What the sort of hyper-masculinity that he is talking about, what do you think about it possibly resonating with men and male voters specifically?
You've been following me, and you will see that in the tens of thousands of people who attend our rallies, which is an opportunity to talk about the issues, to talk about the future of our country, right? There are men, women, young people, people of every race, every background. One of the points I think that is a point of pride for everyone who attends, and including myself, is that our campaign really is about bringing people together, people of very different and diverse backgrounds, around a common theme that is about love of country, defending the Constitution of the United States, and investing in our future, and rejecting the notion that we are divided, or that should be acceptable, that we would be divided as a nation. So I'm very proud to have the support of men, women, young people, people of every background.
Ebony?
So we know we have 5 days into the election. How are you going to continue to draw the contrast with former President Donald Trump, specifically with the undecided voters, as the pool is really shrinking now?
I will continue, as we will
No.
do today, as we did
No.
yesterday, and so
I'm
on,
sorry. No.
to talk with people where they
Eh.
live. So again, here in Wisconsin, heading to Arizona, heading to Nevada, to talk with people about issues like how we're going to deal with price gouging, corporate price gouging as a way to deal with grocery costs, how we're going to invest in small businesses and expand access to capital, how I will give first-time homeowners a $25,000 down payment assistance if they are a first-time home buyer to help them get their foot in the door. These are the issues that the American people want to talk about, because these are the issues that affect them. These are the issues they think about when they're sitting at their kitchen table or when they're trying to go to sleep at night. And what I know is that they want a president of the United States who, as I say, will walk into the Oval Office with a to-do list and not an enemies list. And so that's what I will continue to do over the course of these next few days, to let folks know that I see them, I hear them, and I'm prepared to address their challenges with a plan that is about getting things done.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President, can you just do that?
All right, that was Vice President Kamala Harris addressing reporters in Madison, Wisconsin. She was responding to former President Donald Trump's comment last night at his rally that he is going to be the protector of women, quote, whether the women like it or not, end quote. The vice president just a few moments ago pointing out that she thinks that Trump's comments on women are not just offensive to women, but, quote, offensive to everybody. I want to go back to our campaign reporters who are covering all of this. Eva McKend is out there in Arizona.
I mean, think about it. I have to protect my girls. I am responsible for 2 girls, whether they like it or not. It is my responsibility to protect my 5-year-old daughter and to protect my wife. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Not protect them because they don't like it? Man, whether you like it or not, I will protect you, my girls. That's right. That's right. You see, it's like, come on.
Kristen Holmes is with me here in Washington. Eva, your response to what we just heard from the vice president. I mean, there was, out on the campaign trail over the last 24 hours, there was sort of this back and forth over garbage. It started with what the comedian said at that rally at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night, calling Puerto Rico garbage. And then there was the president's gaffe more than 24 hours ago or so. And then, when the Trump campaign thought that they had something, they were sort of, they thought they had the tiger by the tail here, with Trump climbing into a garbage truck with his name on it and everything. Then he makes this comment about women. And you saw the vice president just seize on it a few moments ago.
She did, Jim, because clearly she was setting the tone for the day with issues where she feels especially comfortable. So as it relates to connecting with women on this issue of reproductive rights, and then also talking about health care more broadly, which has become so central to this campaign. And the hope is that it resonates in states like this one, in Battleground, Arizona. When President Biden won in this state in 2020, it was just by a little more than 10,000 votes, a remarkable feat for a Democrat. Hadn't been done since Bill Clinton in the 90s. And it was due in part to the winning Biden coalition that include Latino and Native American voters. And so what we see from the Harris campaign is them trying to replicate that strategy, this multiracial coalition, but also running on the strength of this argument of reproductive rights. Los Tigres del Norte, excuse my Spanish, it's the best I could do. They're performing tonight here in Phoenix, and then later on she's going to be joined by Jennifer Lopez in Las Vegas. And the way that she's messaging to these Latino voters about her opportunity economy, for instance, it's very much grounded in talking about the family. So clearly she's trying to make the cultural connection there. And I'll end with this, Jim. I'm very curious to see how she talks about the issue of immigration in this border state. She often pushes the bipartisan border enforcement bill that doesn't include a...
And this is the thing. This is the difference between the former President Trump and the Vice President Kamala. In my opinion, think about it. She has all of these huge Hollywood celebrities coming to her campaign, speaking to the people. She's had Beyonce. Now she's having J-Lo tonight. She's having all the biggest stars, huge stars, Tyler Perry was there. Samuel L. Jackson was there. Everybody was talking to this. Like, she has the huge stars in Hollywood. However, Trump doesn't even have half of that. Like, who did Trump bring to his rally? Tell me one huge star in Hollywood that Trump brought to his rally. I can't think of anybody. Yet he has the most momentum in this race. Yet people are saying this man is going to win. This man is most likely going to be the 47th because the people, the celebrities that they're bringing to these rallies don't care about grocery prices, don't even know what the mortgage rate is. Those celebrities don't work 2 or 3 jobs to pay rent, to pay uh, electricity bills. Those people don't even know because they are all rich. Man, double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, man.
Pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants in it, but you have immigrant organizers here on the ground that are canvassing for her, working on her behalf, and she'll have to speak to those communities as well. Jim?
Yeah, and the Harris campaign with that out, that Spanish language ad out this morning, targeting those comments about Puerto Rico made at the Madison Square Garden rally. And Kristen Holmes, your response to what we just heard from the vice president, they obviously saw a moment to sort of shift the narrative, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they saw the same moment that Donald Trump saw, right? I mean, for 3 days, we talked about the jokes that were told at that Madison Square Garden rally, the vile, racist jokes leading up to it. Then the narrative was flipped because Joe Biden had that gaffe referring to Trump supporters, however you want to break it down, as garbage. They seized on that. And now you're seeing Kamala Harris take to the press to reiterate the remarks that and repeat the remarks that Donald Trump said last night. And there's a reason that they're all doing this. They want to amplify what the other side is saying. Kamala Harris wants anyone who wasn't paying attention last night to know exactly what Donald Trump said at that rally. The best way to do that isn't necessarily always just through social media and cutting clips, but also by holding a mini press conference in order to pay attention, to shine a light on those remarks. And as Eva said,
Thank you for tuning in. Somebody said official NBS says Elon, Oprah, Hogan, and Tony. You mean what Oprah? Oprah Winfrey? No. Oprah stands with Kamala. She actually interviewed Kamala. She spoke at the DNC. What do you mean, Oprah? Man, Oprah ain't for Trump. You better get your facts right.
a lot of this is reaching out to a place where they feel comfortable. They are still trying to secure as many women voters as they possibly can. Donald Trump has a problem with women. Kamala Harris has a problem with men. They are trying to get as many of their demographic that already support them out to the polls as quickly as possible and get them revved up so that they actually show up either for early voting or on November 5th. And this is all a part of that. Donald Trump sitting in a trash truck, that is because he believes that the messaging around your supporters are garbage, I'm putting that in quotes, is positive for him, that it can get people riled up, it can get people to the polls. Kamala Harris's team clearly believes that the language that Donald Trump used last night will do the same for her side. We are in a last-minute sprint here, and everybody is grasping for votes because both sides understand that this decision, this race, is going to be determined in the margins, Jim.
Yeah, it's very tight. All right, Eva McKen, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much.
One thing is for sure, we would know who is projected to win, or maybe the winner on Tuesday night. Who knows? Who knows, bro? Who knows? Okay, so let's see what the polls are talking about based on CNN. However, I might add that every independent poll that I have seen and the ones that I have conducted on here on the live show, Trump has always won almost 70% of those votes. The ones I've seen on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, every single place that I've seen on social media, Trump has always won those polls by 70%. But I guess that's not a national poll. All right, here we go.
Here we are with David Chalian to break down these brand new last Battleground
We've been
polls.
here 3 days in a row now. We got our final two Battleground states, North Carolina and Georgia in the Southeast. And they tell a similar story as what we've been seeing all week long. No clear leader in these states. It's a 1-point race in each of them. In Georgia, among likely voters, our brand new poll shows Trump at 48% support, Harris at 47% support. It's the flip in North Carolina. Harris is at 48% support among likely voters there. Trump at 47% support. 1 point races. Let's go
again. No clear leader.
No clear leader. This is basically a tie, folks.
Yeah.
This is a toss-up election. Let's go inside Georgia first in terms of some of the coalition groups here. Independent voters, and again, I just want to say, we're comparing likely voters in a poll and to what actually happened with voters in the 2020 exit polls. These are two different universes, but instructive. Among independent voters in our poll, Trump has a 7-point advantage in Georgia. In Georgia in 2020, Biden won independent voters by 9 points. So that's a potential warning sign there for Harris. Black voters in Georgia in our poll, 71% percentage point advantage over Trump for Harris. That's about where Biden was. He was at 77 points in the exit polls in terms of his advantage over Trump. White non-college voters down in Georgia, Trump has a 66 percentage point advantage in our poll. That is his base. We should expect to see. It's actually even bigger than his advantage was in Georgia in the exit polls, but in that range. In North Carolina, let's look at these same groups here. Among independent voters, Harris has a 4-point advantage over Trump in our poll. That's where Biden was with independent voters in the exit polls in 2020. Remember, he lost North Carolina in 2020 by a narrow margin. Black voters, 59 percentage point advantage. This is a huge potential warning sign. In the exit polls, Biden won black vote in North Carolina by 85 percentage points. Harris, this is something she's going to want to watch for in the closing days. And then you see the white non-college here. This is perhaps a little bit of diminishment of support among Trump's base than he had 4 years ago. Also in North Carolina, that governor's race. You all remember the story about Mark Robinson, of course. His support plummeted. He's at 37%. Josh Stein is likely to be the next governor, a Democrat in North Carolina. And some Democrats say having this race off the map was a detriment to them, keeping every Democrat in North Carolina enthused.
Yeah, which is a little bit counterintuitive, you would think. But, who's left to win over?
Well, take a look at this. So 95% in both states, mind made up. Obviously, there's this small universe, but we just heard our Ebony Davis ask Vice President Harris when you were playing the sound before, what is your argument to these final movable voters? And her answer was immediately about the economy and bringing prices down. And then, Dana, we take a look at those voters who tell us they've already voted. So among those in these states who tell us they've already voted, in Georgia, that's 59% of the folks in our poll. Harris wins them 51% to 44%. In North Carolina, 52% of our poll respondents tell us they already voted. So again, a majority. And Harris is winning them here 51% to 45%. I will just note, these are closer among those that tell us that they've already voted for Harris than we see in those blue wall states where she had more of an advantage with those who tell us they already voted, Dana.
So interesting. I'm over here now, David. Thank you so much for doing this. We are off what our friend Lisa Lair at the New York Times calls the polar coaster now. One more thing, though. As of this hour, the total number of early voters, this is actual voters, crossed the 60 million mark. 60 million. That likely means well more than 1/3 of Americans who intend to vote already have voted. Let's break all of this down with my great group of reporters here. CNN's Bill Mattingly, CNN's Kristen Holmes, Laura Barone Lopez of the PBS NewsHour. What do you make of those two battleground states and what they tell us?
I mean, are we really off the polar coaster on some level?
I'm off.
Come on. I don't think anybody can be.
I'll watch from the ground and wave.
In large part because everything is saying the same exact thing, which is that this is a razor-thin race. It is as close as it could possibly be. There has been no breakout. There has been no turn. Honestly, and we all kind of look at crosstabs like total nerds most of the time when we get something like this, particularly at this point in the election. I think what was interesting to me is twofold. One, the big question down in Georgia in particular is black voters. Will they come back even more? There was some concern, obviously, of slippage. It's been a huge point that everybody's been talking about over the course of the last several months, particularly with black men. There have been signs, based on people I've talked to on the ground, that, okay, once we reach them, we can get them back. It's a matter of reaching them. Is their turnout effort, which is expansive down in that state, having a real effect? Young voters in the early vote down there as well have been a higher number than they've seen. How's that going to turn out? The big thing, though, was the 5%, I think, in both states that are still persuadable, which tracks with what we've heard from both campaigns.
That's
There's
right.
3 to 5% out there that they're fighting over, which means a lot could happen in the next 5 days.
Right, and it sounds like a nothing percentage, but when it's a dead heat, it's a lot. What about you?
I think the most striking thing to me was those North Carolina numbers among white, non-educated voters for Donald Trump. There was a roughly 20-point gap there between 2020 and now. I think that really goes to show you why Donald Trump has spent so much time in North Carolina in recent days and leading up to the election. We know he's going to have several more stops in the state. They really feel like in that state they need to drive up people going to the polls, particularly his base. He had not spent a ton of time in that state. They really believed when Joe Biden was at the top of the ticket that they were going to easily win it. They have seen the movement in the polls in the last several weeks, and they do believe that that is a state that could potentially be at risk. Now, looking at those crosstabs, looking at those white non-educated voters, that is likely why they are spending so much time in that state.
Yeah, I mean, black voter turnout might be down a little bit right now in those states, and that is certainly a concern for Harris, but they probably are looking at those numbers you just mentioned and are happy about that, hoping that, she's driving up turnout in the suburbs in states like North Carolina. They like it when they see big suburban turnout. Also, right now in early voting, women are leading men by, I think, double digits. And that's a big deal for Harris because she clearly is betting that women are going to turn out more for her than for Trump.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's look at the actual early voting in these key states. And this is just the people who are voting. We don't know who they're voting for. But women are besting men in early voting in each one of these states. And Phil Mattingly, you seem like the most appropriate person to talk to at this table about the female vote.
Yeah.
So, going back to the beginning of the program, what we played from Donald Trump, it's like the most vintage Donald Trump moment ever, where people say to him, you probably don't want to say you're the protector of women. So he goes out and he says, not only am I the protector of women, I'm going to protect them even when they don't want to be protected. Kamala Harris jumps on it this morning. Given how big of a role the gender of voters, and the discussion about gender, whether it's reproductive rights or anything else, is playing, how do you think this is going to impact where we are?
Should note, it's also vintage because not only was he told it was condescending and then doubled down with more condescending, he actually relayed the smart political advice he got.
That's right.
In a play-by-play conversation and then still did it anyway, which is kind of like the epitome of Trump rally on some level. The thing that I don't have a good read on, and I would be surprised if anybody does at this point, is we talk constantly about how the Trump campaign has been laser focused and really done an expansive effort to pull in younger male voters. Male voters, generally, the gender gap is huge with men going his way, but younger male voters in particular, reaching out to them, connecting with them, getting them registered. They're low propensity. They're not a group that tends to be anything but ambivalent when it comes to voting. Whether or not doing so, and this is what Nikki Haley was referring to earlier this week, has actually served as a turnout boost for Democrats for the Harris campaign with women. The gender gap is enormous. The gender gap among young voters in particular is even larger. And whether or not that their kind of pathway, how they're going to thread the needle on this on the Trump side, ends up kind of inverting itself on the Democratic side and helping Harris is like the big question that will likely decide the election.
And on the gender gap, I mean, Harris's campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, told reporters this week that they are really hoping that those women that voted maybe silently for abortion in 2022 stick with Democrats this cycle around. And I was just talking to a two-time Trump voter in Arizona who had been undecided, a woman, and she said just yesterday she told me that she's basically decided and she's going to vote for Harris this time around. And abortion is a big reason why she's doing that.
Every time I watch CNN, they're always talking about how Trump attract uneducated voters, young, naive voters. What are you saying? Trump attract common sense people. People who actually pay bills, people who have family, people who struggle, people who is having it hard in the United States. Trump attracts billionaires, millionaires, normal, regular Americans. I mean, look, Elon Musk is voting for Trump. So what are you talking about? This is the greatest innovator in history. Some people would say it's Steve Jobs. Most people would say it's Elon Musk. And now you're saying he attract broke, poor, naive uneducated people. I don't even understand this, folks. Man, double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, man.
Well, here is President Biden's exact words about Trump supporters, half the country, during a Zoom call last night.
And just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization is seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American. It's totally contrary to everything we've done.
Now, the White House says there was meant to be an apostrophe there, as if that just fixes everything you just heard. And Biden, too, tried to clarify his insult of millions of Americans. He posted this on social media very quickly after. Earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage, which is the only word I can think of to describe it. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable. That's all I meant to say. The comments at the rally don't reflect who we are as a nation. But it was radio silence from the Harris campaign until earlier this morning when the vice president finally weighed in.
President Biden put this comment last night about garbage.
Listen, I think that, first of all, he clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
You've spoken to him about his comments and his intentions?
He did call me last night, but this didn't come up.
Do you sympathise with any voters who do feel offended by or insulted by the garbage comments?
As I have said and will repeat over and over again, I am sincere in what I mean. When elected President of the United States, I will represent all Americans, including those who don't vote for me, and address their needs and their desires.
So let's start by clearing this up. Biden, who proclaimed unity, 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 unity in his inaugural address, says he would never demonize half the country. But let's go through the last 4 years when he has done just that repeatedly.
The last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters. For the vast majority of you who've gotten vaccinated, I understand your anger at those who haven't gotten vaccinated.
Do you want to be on the side of Dr. King or George Wallace? Do you want to be on the side of John Lewis or Bull Connor? Do you want to be on the side of Abraham Lincoln or Jefferson Davis? That's why respected conservatives like Federal Circuit Court Judge Michael Ludwig has called Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans, quote, a clear and present danger to our democracy. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
So Republicans are Neanderthals. Republicans have been compared to segregationists. Republicans have been called a clear and present danger, all in various contexts. But he would never do that. And the question is, has Kamala stood up to him each and every one of those times he has incited division?
But the clip is important because, again, it was Kamala, all Democrats, Joe Biden, that talk about extreme MAGA Republicans. What that is if you're a Donald Trump supporter, right? They've demonized them. And Donald Trump always says in the campaign trail, they're not coming for me. They're actually coming for you. I'm just in their way. And you see right here, that's actually true. They hate half of America because they hate their values, because they're trying to make a power play to change this country, fundamentally transform it. Here's the problem, though. We're talking about a very slim part of America that may be undecided, that is persuadable as we're 6 days away from the election. This language doesn't work at all to win them over. And if you think about the campaigns, the polls are all over. It's tight. But I spend a lot of time on campaigns, and the campaigns that are winning, they're having fun, they're dancing, they're laughing, they truly are joyful. The campaigns that are losing, they're backfighting, they're demonizing their opponent, they're in essence trying to claw at anything to get ahead. And so I look at this, and it is a sign of a struggling campaign, which is not good for Kamala Harris.
So the media 48 hours ago had a serious problem with the term garbage when a comedian used it as a warm-up act for a Trump rally. Let's go back, recent memory.
the most repulsive racial jokes about Latinos.
Disgusting and hateful.
So incredibly crude.
Frankly, just too X-rated to play here.
You know, Harris, so they had a problem with garbage then. I am not hearing vociferous denunciations of Biden today.
I'm not hearing any. I mean, you know, she's outside on the tarmac, almost unintelligible with the sound of the engines going behind her. So, I mean, I think Kellyanne Conway and others have mentioned this. If you want that message to be clear, that you step away and are separate from Joe Biden and his incendiary remarks about Trump supporters, then you make it clear, and you make it clear in a place where you can be heard. You don't do the also ran of, well, if they get to that question, be ready for it, as you run across the tarmac. Look, all of this is a fix to something that can't be fixed because it's baked in. We've been hearing Tim Walz, the vice presidential candidate that she chose, talk about Trump supporters as Nazis.
Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. Double tap your screen. Let's get the likes up and subscribe to the channel. Let me ask you a question. Are you better off now than you were 4 or 5 years ago? Another question. Do you think there is a double standard to both candidates? Do you think people are holding Kamala to a higher standard? Do you think people are holding Trump to a higher standard? Let me know. And do you think Trump is going to put America first? I know for a fact he is going to put America first because he did it from 2016 to 2020. Or do you think Kamala is going to put America first? I don't know about all that.
And then how rich was it that the vice presidential candidate that she didn't choose from the all-important state of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, governor in that state, was one of the first to say, and maybe it was vociferously, no way should anybody be calling anybody supporters that. And he completely backed away from what Biden said. Mm-hmm. Maybe she, again, chose the wrong guy, but maybe they chose the wrong path. And they chose it 3.5 years ago because they've been talking about Trump for a long time.
They have been. Look, Emily, there's a question that must be asked. And I think it's fair at this point because there have been a ton of data points on this. So let me begin here. Kamala yesterday called for unity in her closing argument, widely touted speech in front of the ellipse. She said, all of those who disagree are welcome at my table. They're neighbors, they're friends. I'm paraphrasing her here. And then Biden comes out with the garbage comment. Okay, now this comes after, days after we learned from Axios this. President Biden wants to campaign for Vice President Harris in the last days before the election. Harris's campaign keeps responding, we'll get back to you. It's according to 3 people familiar. They believe Biden's a political liability at a crucial time. Okay, so we remember when Biden put on the MAGA hat, raised some of our eyebrows. Then we remember Biden campaigning in Pittsburgh. The White House says they didn't know about that. Then this latest comment. Then there was the comment that he made about jailing President Trump.
I know this sounds bizarre. It sounds like if I said this 5 years ago, you'd lock me up. We got to lock him up. Politically lock him up. Lock him out. That's what we have to do.
Now, Emily, the question is this intentional? And look, we have nothing to suggest it is, but when you have all of these misstatements, either he is just not on message or there's something more.
And I think to your point, look, I don't think we're ever going to know the true answer, but the question is the most important point. Mm-hmm. And the two answers are either sort of an intentional dismantling of the efficacy of Kamala Harris's campaign right now, or a pushback in general, an anger at being rebuffed, an anger at being removed. And frankly, that's the Joe Biden we've seen for years. We've seen a lashing out, a stubborn, a sort of, retribution holding individual. So I'm not surprised at all. And I think the reality is that the Harris campaign is trying to contain a human that isn't going to be contained because he still has the microphone, because he's still the president. And you're absolutely right that it's a little too late for Kamala Harris to come out and call for unity when all of her actions, all of her behavior, all of her rhetoric has said otherwise. And we saw that, I think, for someone that has wanted voters to believe for now years that she fought so hard and she fought so clearly during her different positions for you, America, for you, victims and the like. We didn't see that same firm aggression when she was denouncing anti-Semitic rhetoric. We didn't see that same firmness when she was denouncing Hamas. There was a million opportunities for her to come out with that same fire that we were told she has as a prosecutor. And so here it falls so flat. She's trying to distance herself from the president, but on the tarmac, across from the engines, I think it's because she feels safe to do so, because she knows no matter what, in a couple weeks, they're not going to have to work together.
Cheryl, there are moments that are big political moments, and the Trump campaign clearly thought this was such. And the reason I know that is I remember when news would break during Trump rallies. One time they sent me down in the audience with a sign and held it up for Trump to read what the breaking news was. And last night, the campaign clearly did the same. They sent a piece of paper out to him via Marco Rubio, and watch what happened.
You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage. Are garbage.
Wow. That's terrible. That's what it says. So you have, remember Hillary, she said deplorable? And then she said irredeemable, right? But she said deplorable. That didn't work out. Garbage, I think, is worse, right? But he doesn't know. You have to please forgive him. Please forgive him, for he not knoweth what he said.
Pretty funny.
Well, you brought up the deplorable comment. Was this their deplorable moment, do you think, for the Harris campaign? That's the biggest question. You brought that up earlier with just 6 days to go. Maybe not. But remember, this was, I'm going to give you the date, September 9th, 2016, when Hillary Clinton went out there and said that it was her deplorable speech. It was a basket of deplorables, and that offended half the country. And she lost. But there was more in that speech, and I think that a lot of folks remember that to their core because it was wounding. She also said that Trump supporters were racist, sexist, homophobic, Islamophobic. It was a big speech, and so I think. Look, it is Harris. It's not Biden. Let's be clear. He's been confused before, and I'm being polite. Was that another moment? I don't think the White House communications team did a good job of cleaning it up. And plus, in this age of viral video, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., those comments were out there.
But if you have somebody
garbage comment was all over there
in your constellation who hates half the country, and you have made it your point throughout your campaign up until like 4 days ago to say that we are simpatico on everything, every major decision. I'm always the last person in the room. He said it too. Then if you have that much hate in the room, you're going to convince anybody that you wouldn't stand up to that if it really bothered you. You're going to wait to a loud tarmac moment to say, I'm not like this guy? Come on, they're practiced at this. And they're not just practiced at insulting people, they're practicing at words that really signify hate. Mm-hmm. I mean, garbage is worse than deplorable. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. And look, the comedian who, I only knew him from roasting Tom Brady, I didn't think any.
Thank you for tuning in to the live stream. Double tap your screen. Let's get the likes up. Subscribe to the channel if you're getting any value from this. Okay, BTK, I agree 100% with you. Kayleigh was the best press secretary. Hands down. No conversation about that. 100%. That ain't no conversation, okay? And let me know if you voted in the chat. I voted on Monday, early voting. I was so excited. I actually made a video about it. You can go to my main page and watch that one. It was an awesome experience for me because this is my first time voting in the United States. I became a United States citizen in 2022, and I was like, I cannot wait to vote for Trump because he's been campaigning for a long time, if you remember. All right, let's finish this video, and we're about to end the stream.
Anything he said was funny that night. I don't even know, where this guy came from. That's how bad he was, but he was great at the roast. It's like, oh, are they even the same people? But he's not running for president. More importantly, this came from the actual president.
Great. Yeah. There are certain huge moments in political campaigns, and the deplorable moment was one, to your point. I remember where I was walking through Charlotte Airport, and I will.
Okay, guys. All right. It is time for me to say goodbye. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in God. All right? It is your boy Genesis. I am sending you love. I am sending you hugs. I hope everything is going well in your family because I know a lot of people are struggling these days. The economy ain't smiling. And I just hope God blesses you and protects your family. And if you have kids and if you have spouse, please take care of your family, protect them, provide for them, and I hope God provides for you. Okay. What else? What else? What else? What else? Happy Halloween. Okay. God bless you. Genesis is signing out.